Welcome back to my mini-series From Fear to Frets, where I share my journey, how I've been slowly overcoming the fear of being seen. Today is episode 2, The Magic of Louise L. As I said in the first episode, my life was having this huge tower moment. Everything was coming down. I quit my job, 2 of my really good friends moved away, and yet again, I got a tonsillitis. And usually when I would get it, I would take my antibiotics and on day 2 I would feel much better. But here it was day 3 and honestly it was way worse. I couldn't open my mouth like almost at all. So I knew that something must be really wrong and I went back to the ER. At the ER they did a CT scan and the doctor came to me and she was like, "You need an emergency tonsillectomy," meaning we need to cut your tonsils out. In that moment, the only thing I could think about was, can I call my mom? And so after the surgery, I woke up feeling really foggy, which is understandable with anesthesia. But I also felt almost like there's more space inside my mind. A few days later, when I was back at my tiny apartment, I didn't know yet, but I was gonna stumble upon this woman called Louise L and her documentary/movie called You Can Heal Your Life. And so I decided to start watching it, but I didn't finish it because I decided to go out instead with some of my other friends. And the night out was going well until we went outside and I asked my friend for a cigarette. And as she was handing it to me, she said, "It's your choice." And as I was taking it, it felt like time had slowed down. Remember I mentioned that after surgery it felt like there was more space inside my head? So I was clearly seeing that this just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Why am I going after something that's gonna make these fresh wounds inside my throat way worse? And so I knew that something had to change. I watched the movie You Can Heal Your Life, and I was so inspired by it that the next day I went and bought the same book. I was ready to do anything that Louise L was recommending. I started writing down affirmations, and the next thing on my list was something called mirror work. Mirror work means that you go to a mirror, you sit in front of it or you stand in front of it, but you take the time to see yourself, like truly see yourself. And then you start saying, "I love you." Insert your name, and you do it over and over and over again. It was definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done, because as I was sitting in front of that mirror, I would start saying, "I love," and I couldn't get any further. It just felt too weird, too wrong, but I wasn't gonna give up. And I finally said, "I love you, Mara." In that moment, this really loud voice inside my head just started cackling. You know it's not true whatsoever. Like, it's such a lie. And I believed that. But again, I wasn't going to give up. By day 6, writing down affirmations and doing the mirror work, I could feel that something was changing. And then about 14 days into it, I actually felt like my heart opened up. I felt so much love, but not love just for myself, but love for everyone and everything. I had never felt anything like that before. Like, even though I didn't have a new job yet, I didn't have money to pay next month's rent, I had to call my landlord and be like, "Hey, this is the situation. Can we do this?" If you would have seen my life in that moment, you wouldn't believe that with her circumstances, how in the world is she so happy and why is she smiling all the time? And I wasn't the only one who noticed it. I had friends come up to me who were like, "It's like you're glowing." And I had strangers coming up to me, "Thank you for making my day brighter." I was literally just walking and smiling because I felt that life is just so amazing. And so what Louise L taught me was that the thoughts that I'm thinking are very important. She was the first person to teach me that where I put my attention, that's where my energy is going to go. And another thing she taught me was that I have only known this one program, and I was ready for a new one. For the first time in my life, I actually liked myself. It felt good to be in my body, and it felt good to trust life. And so, in the next episode, I will take you across mountains and oceans, as sometimes packing up your things and moving to a totally different country is the biggest change you'll need. So stay with me. The next chapter begins with a suitcase. And before I finish, I will put the link to the book You Can Heal Your Life and the movie down in the description. See you next time. Bye.